Welcome to Leadership Where It Matters Most. The family is the most important institution in the world. The future of the church passes through the family. The church has the greatest mission of any organization ever. Go and make disciples of all nations. The family and the church. This is where leadership matters most. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Leadership Where It Matters Most. I am not going to give a long introduction for this episode because I gave one at the start of last episode with my guest who is back, Dr. Deborah Savage. Just very quickly, she's a professor at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. And today in our conversation, we talk a lot about the holiness of work, the dignity of human work. We talk about some things related to artificial intelligence and human flourishing or not. And just a lot of things that will be informative from a Catholic lens in the workplace. So if you want to hear more about Dr. Savage, you can listen to the episode introduction from our last episode. And you can check her out in all the places that she encourages you to visit at the end of this episode because she's quite present online. So, hey, enjoy this episode. I want to talk about the dignity of work and, just a few different topics around that. But maybe to set the scene for this, perhaps you can share with our listeners, because most will be familiar with you from teaching theology and being at Franciscan University. Yeah. But you had a long career in the corporate world. So maybe just say a few words about that.
Yeah, I spent the first 25 years of my adult working life working in mostly manufacturing companies. I started out as a factory operator in the semiconductor industry out in California. That's how I got through college. My undergraduate degree is in business.
Yep.
And I went on to sort of rise up through the ranks of various manufacturing companies and eventually opened my own consulting firm. And in the process, I became what these days we call a Six Sigma black belt, right? That was before I had already left the corporate world when that started to take shape, but that was the work that I did. That's a story in and of itself. But what I discovered was that the Japanese, who really got us all rolling down the continuous improvement hill, right?
Kaizen, is that the right term?
Kaizen, yes, yeah. Right. I have so much to say about that. But what I discovered in the research that I did, especially when I became a consultant, was something astonishing, that the data shows, and there's management papers that have been written and published, management research that draws a connection between the Japanese success with those techniques and their spiritual traditions.
Wow.
Yes. Confucian virtue ethics in particular. In the Japanese economy, a culture at the time, I don't know if they're still thinking this way to what extent they are, but every single person in a Confucian-based culture is supposed to become what's called a chinsu, which is a superior person. It doesn't matter whether you're the janitor or the CEO or a mom or a dad or anyone. Your task is to become a chinsu, and you pursue that goal with all your might through the practice of virtues. And I thought at the time, well, that's really strange because I was earning a ton of money, getting nowhere helping clients with these methods. They just didn't have the patience. They wanted a formula. And I thought, well, why isn't our own virtues tradition informing our work behavior in the same way? What happened? Is it missing from our tradition? What happened? Yeah. And that's the question I went to graduate school with, was to find out what happened and how we could correct that. So I actually give talks on the relationship between Confucian virtue ethics and Aristotelian Thomistic ethics, and to vice presidents of engineering and design and marketing, to business people, because I'm trying to help them see that virtue actually gives you a competitive edge.
Yep.
If everyone in your organization makes a deep connection between their own growth and the work that they're doing, then you're in. That's great. So my dissertation, my first research area was along these lines, and my dissertation was on the subjective dimension of human work,
Hmm.
the conversion of the acting person.
Yes. Are you familiar with Alex Havard and his work on
Oh,
virtue?
yes, I am. I met
I'll bet.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing really good work, or at least he was. I haven't been in touch with him for a long time. But yeah, I use his book, one of his books in some of my classes. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Magnanimity, maybe? Or,
Yeah. Well, it's
right?
the virtue in leadership, but his
Right.
focus on magnanimity and humility as the two
Yeah.
essential virtues for any executive.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
he's right about that. Yeah.
I got to think there wasn't what this is an assumption I'm making. Maybe I'm wrong. So I'll say it. You can correct me, but you were a black belt in Six Sigma, lean business and all
Well,
that.
I could have been, I suppose, but
Okay.
I didn't ever get that label because that was after I left.
Oh,
But
I see.
I just call it that
Yep.
so that people have some kind of context for what the work I was doing. I was at the beginning. I was at the very start of it,
Yeah.
at Honeywell when we started
Yep.
it at Honeywell.
Yeah. Well, it gave me context. As soon as you said it, I was like, okay, I know where this
Yeah,
is.
that's right.
But
Yeah.
the observation I was going to make is that I would imagine, and again, I could be wrong, but probably not a lot of women were at that level of that sort of strand of management theory.
Right. No, that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, yes, that's right. In fact, I found there were a lot of men and women who were earning lots of money being consultants to companies in the same situation I was, who didn't have the full grasp of the actual techniques, right?
Yes.
It wasn't the only thing, but those statistical techniques that are involved in becoming a Six Sigma black belt, they're irreplaceable. So, really, the whole effort to manage variation, which is really what that is there's equivalencies to that in the virtues tradition. So, a virtue is a mean between two vices. A man named Junichi Taguchi invented the Taguchi method. He's a Japanese man, of course, but he said quality is managing variation around a target value. There's a target value you're going for in any manufacturing design and even in any process at all. You want the customer to have the sweet spot is that the customer gets an answer in a day, right? Or the parts of a car fit together like gloves. There's not too much play, would it be a piston and a carburetor maybe or something like that, right? And I'm sure that's not right, but that's an example of a part that fits together perfectly in that there's not too much play, so it's rattling, and it's not too tight, so it wears out.
Yep.
That is why Japanese cars last as long as they do.
Huh. There
Because
you go.
they have absolutely mastered the art, and it's an art, believe me, of minimizing variation. Think of the Six Sigma, right?
Yeah.
Minimizing variation around a target value so that every single car part in their engines and in the body, they all fit together like gloves.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes car ownership make a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Toyota is almost always kind of goes back and forth between itself and Volkswagen, I think. But it's the largest manufacturer of cars in the world.
Yep. That would make sense.
It's why the Japanese in 1945 were a devastated economy. They were the second largest economy by 1962.
Wow. There you go. Talk to us, Dr. Savage, a little bit about, because some of the listeners would be executives, whether it's manufacturing or other industries, but what is the place of the feminine genius in the corporate world? And has that been appreciated as much as it should?
I would say not. And this is the big question to me is how does complementarity or these different gifts that women bring and men bring to the task, how does that play out in public life, right? In the corporate world in particular. And I can give you a couple of examples that'll illustrate what I think is really true about it. When I was just getting started, I was often, and this is in the 80s, so there weren't very many women at my level, and I would be the only woman in the room. The rest would be guys. And I would be always the one that would say, I think we've forgotten about this, that, or the other thing. And the response I got, this happened at least 10 times at Honeywell, and I was at Honeywell for 10 years. Oh, Deborah, you're just complicating things. No, let's just do it. A man's attitude is, let's just do it. Don't muddy up the waters with details. And 9 times out of 10, we would find that we had, in fact, forgotten what I suggested, and we had to go back and do it over. I'm not kidding. Now, I didn't know anything about the feminine genius then. I just assumed, oh, you're right, I'm probably just making it complicated. Or sometimes I would get mad because I would know I was right, but couldn't get a hearing. But I look back on those moments and I realized that was the feminine genius showing up saying, hold on a second, you guys. And almost always, the thing we forgot had something to do with people. The right approach to persuading employees that this change effort makes sense, for example, or taking the right steps to sort of sell the idea or to train them to help them understand what we were up to, something along those lines. So here at Franciscan, there was one of the first faculty meetings that I went to. An argument erupted. It was the full faculty, and an argument erupted about how many women there were on a particular committee. And one of the women on the faculty said, why is there no women on that committee? And, and it just escalated. The faculty member cried. It was just awful. A man stood up and said, I'm sick of talking about this, why it's the best man for the job and all this. I was kind of hired to help fix that sort of thing. So I intervened. And I started out by saying, I hope I won't offend anyone, but here's how I look at what's going on here. And, I'm happy to say I helped in that moment. But later on that day, another faculty member, a man, came to me and he said, I knew right away it was a woman that was speaking because you started by apologizing. And I said, oh, yeah, I don't have to talk like you.
Right.
In fact, you should be thanking me for the fact that I don't talk like you. I think that was the first moment in my life, really, where I encountered actual sexism.
Yeah.
Unconscious. Men don't know. They don't understand it. And, if I hadn't had this perspective, I might have just, blown him off or something. But it was so profound. Men and women use language differently. And women are definitely more conciliatory in the sense they're trying to run interference or pave the way for understanding, ensure that they're heard, right? Men use assertive statements. Women use more inquiry statements. And, I said to him, really, I think it would have helped that man that got up and started to tell us that what a stupid thing we're onto here. He had a little help from me in articulating his point of view, right?
Yep.
So I think women they should not be afraid. This is what I tell my women students. Absolutely do not be afraid to bring the gifts that women offer wherever you land, whatever profession you're in, whether it's in the family or public life, because the world needs women. I mean, it's no longer, I think we've gotten past the point where we can say women should just stay at home. That's never going to fly. I mean, that ship has sailed. And actually, I think we need the feminine genius. The church says in the Compendium for Catholic Social Thought, the feminine genius is needed in all aspects of the life of society. Therefore, the presence of women in the workplace must be guaranteed. That's a quote, number 295. Why is that? Because we need the moral authority of women. The way in which women enter into things is a necessary dimension of professional life. Reminding everyone that all human activity must be ordered toward human flourishing You can't make of yourself a gift to a profit or a bottom line or any of that stuff. All of our activity must be ordered toward human flourishing. I mean, in addition to my professional competence and my ability to get things done, which women clearly possess, I bring this other gift to the table that is frankly missing from so many places.
Yeah.
And when women get shrill, men stop listening. I know that for a fact, and I don't blame you. So we need to find a way to talk to each other too, and to include those. The spirit of inquiry ought to reign more often than it does, instead of just mere assertions, right? I'm kind of reducing it a little bit, but I do think those are some areas, right? Women will pick different projects. Like I had a friend who was in engineering. She was a research engineer, and she would pick projects that seemed curiously ordered toward some aspect of human flourishing. An excellent engineer, very competent, really well-trained. She knew a lot, but she would end up in these research projects that were directly related to some sort of human activity, like teaching people in Africa how to build a well, or, that sort of thing. Not just dig it out, but really figure out how to orchestrate the delivery of water to a village and things of that sort.
Absolutely.
Women notice different things. We're better at picking up on nonverbal behavior. We can see more deeply into things. John Paul II says in Redemptoris Mater that women have this gift of intuition. It's a word I'm uncomfortable with, but what he means by it is that we see into the nature of things in a different way than men do, not for what use we can make of them, for their meaning. We're looking for meaning. We're the bringer of meaning. Just like Eve gave Adam purpose, shed light on the meaning of his own existence. Women need to contribute that to the public life in spades. People are no longer thinking about the meaning of all this feverish activity, like it says in Gaudium et Spes. What is the meaning of all of it? What are we all racing toward, right? We've forgotten about meaning.
Yeah. So much of what we're talking about so far has been appreciating the differences, because in and of themselves, they're good, right? Male, female, genius, all that. Even how we bring that into the corporate world and our experience on teams and all that. Absolutely. There are differences in experiences that are not easy to swallow. And I want to give a statement to you, and it might even be your statement, because this statement is coming from Magdalena Kine, who, got us together. She's a former student of yours, a family friend of ours. And she had said that in the corporate world, often women are promoted based on performance. And this might be a quote of yours. Women are promoted often on a basis of performance, whereas men are promoted sometimes on potential. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that.
There might be some truth to it. I don't know as a general rule. If I guess I'm relating it to my own experience. That's not one of my lines, but I'd have to ponder that further to see if it's a general rule. I think my own experience has been most of the jobs I've gotten have been on the basis of the potential that somebody saw in me. I haven't interviewed really for a job since, I don't know, the 80s.
Yeah, right.
I keep getting plucked and put, do this. So, I think she might have something. There might be some truth to that. I hope that we wouldn't put that into the context of some kind of sexism. I don't really believe in sexism, in the sense that I don't think men are even aware of this. For example, when I taught at a seminary for 13 years before I came here, I was the only woman faculty, only woman on the faculty. And I would never get invited out to lunch with the guys.
Yeah.
And at first, there were some nuns there who were infuriated by this on my behalf. And it didn't really bother me because I realized they just forget about me. There's nothing personal in it. They just forget.
Wow.
And I know that because there would be occasions where I'd say, hey, you guys, I'd like to go to lunch with you. You Neanderthals, you never ask me. I tease them about it. And they would say, oh, sure, yeah, come on. Didn't know you wanted to. Men are often looking the other way, or they're thinking about something else. Whereas women, we have this peripheral, but women literally have better peripheral vision.
Yep.
We have more rods and cones in our eyes, and we can see. Women have eyes in the back of their head, right? Especially school teachers. And so we notice things that men, because their brains are ordered this way, more like going after a target, they just don't notice. And so when you get upset, it's sort of like telling a duck to stop acting like a duck. I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't attribute that to sexism, but I would maybe say that I believe that would be a pattern that will change with time. And I think it is changing because women have the potential to be great leaders. And that I think has become clear.
Absolutely.
I'm a subscriber to the Harvard Business Review. The number of papers or essays that are in there about women in leadership is astounding. I sometimes think, again, the suicide rate of white males is 68% or whatever that number was. We have to watch out for that. We can't sacrifice men for women and vice versa, for that matter,
Yeah, of course. Why don't we, because of time here, why don't we look at one more question? I'll give you the choice of what that question is. Because, and then I'm going to have you on in 6 or 8 months again, because we got so much more we could talk about. But one of the questions I wanted to see is, because of your whole background with Catholic social thought and all that, I could float it to you. Like, what do you think is the meaning of Pope Leo taking his name?
Oh,
that could be a question. Or there could be a question, what conversation is not happening in the church today that should be happening about the dignity of human work? And maybe you touch on AI or something. I don't know. The last one would be, if you had one lecture for all pastoral leaders of the West to hear, what would you speak about?
Oh,
those are my 3 questions.
You can't make me pick. Well,
do you want to go Pope Leo?
We can do that real quick because I have a quick thing to say about it. But but
let's do 2 then.
Okay. I think it's interesting. I was so hopeful when I realized he had selected that name because Leo the 13th is definitely one of my heroes.
Yeah, I'll bet.
People associate him with Rerum Novarum. That's great. But I associate him with Aeterni Patris.
Say more about that.
Aeterni Patris was when he said to everybody, okay, this is how I put it to my modern philosophy students, everybody out of the pool, go back to the work of Aquinas. He's a giant in the Catholic tradition, social thought, but it's really important to remember that he's also the one that encyclical was the spark that initiated the Neo-Thomist revival. That has been an extremely rich development in the church in the way we think about things, because the modern period had really thrown everybody off from Descartes to Kant. This is something that's not fully appreciated. This is what I learned when I went to graduate school, was about the Enlightenment and what a mess that was, and how inaccurately named it is. It was, for me, those were the Dark Ages. And because some of those philosophers, I'd say, those thinkers are just literally, I want to say, crazy. I mean, but we don't have to go there. To me, to select the name Leo, I would hope, is to appreciate both what is old and what is new. And to bring the type of intellectual depth to the church's tradition that Leo represents. Yeah. I think it's a signal. I'm hoping to see it play out.
Yeah. I mean, he did, at least as far as I know. And, we live in a world of AI where so much is generated and you're like, is this real? I don't know. But I think he did make reference that, there was the revolution at the turn of the century. There's a new revolution with AI, and the church has a place to speak into this.
Yeah.
Is that at least some of what you've heard?
I have heard that he's brought that issue up. Yeah. I think this leads us to maybe the next question about the conversation we should be having about the dignity of work. I hear rumors, hopefully they're just rumors, that people have moved on from John Paul II's body of work, which would be a disaster.
Yeah, we're just getting to understand it now.
Oh, yes, sort of, yeah. You can't really understand how profound his encyclicals are unless you've studied his philosophical works, because he's sending signals in those encyclicals that point to his anthropology. So, I think that needs to be recognized. But his encyclical on human work, which was the topic of my dissertation, is absolutely one of the most profound documents, without question, that the church has in its arsenal. And the reason that it is because it's an deeply anthropological treatment of the meaning of work itself. What is it? And in that encyclical, the main point he's making is that there's two dimensions to human work. There's the objective dimension, which is the thing we produce, whether that's a meal or a clean garage or a widget or a paper or a book or whatever the external thing we sell maybe or give away. And then there's a second dimension, though, which is the subjective dimension of human work. And it's through working, he says, that I become or not who I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
So he says the point of the encyclical is really to explore the meaning of the subjective dimension of human work. And so here's where this question of who am I serving comes in. He doesn't put it that way, but he could.
Yeah.
Because everybody works. Work in his account is not work you do for pay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your career. It's a school child doing his homework.
Yeah.
It's a college student who usually these days refuses to read the material they're assigned, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's working. It's a fundamental dimension of human existence because, and he derives the meaning of that claim, the source of that claim is the same place that he derives the law of the gift in Genesis. And he says the reason that you have to understand that work is a dimension of human existence is because we are given the call to work, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, before the fall.
Yeah, not a
Work
consequence
is
of it.
not a punishment for sin or anything like that. It's how we become more of a human being. And one of the best examples I have is my daughter Maddie. Her first task that she was given was to empty, official chore, was to empty the knife and fork tray. And it would have taken me 2 seconds. And parents know this instinctively. Why do you have your children do chores, I'll ask in my public talks on this, when you know that you could get it done in a tenth of the time?
Yeah.
Because you know that without learning to work and love it, your children will not be happy.
Yeah.
And so Maddie was cleaning out the knife and fork tray, her first task, and she said, "Why do I have to do this?" And this will take some explaining, but I always answer her with a particular quote from Laborum Exercens, which was, "Because you're a subjective being, capable of acting in a planned and rational way, with a tendency towards self-realization." And every time throughout her life, she would say to me, "Why do I have to clean my room? Why do I have to do the dishes? Why do I have to do my homework?" I would give her that response. And there's so much to tell about that one example. But this is what we want for our children, is for them to recognize that they're responsible for themselves and that they have this capacity for self-realization that's built right into the telos of their very existence. And he says in that encyclical, we accomplish that through the work that we do. So this AI thing, where there's this threat that we're going to replace human beings with artificial intelligence, that would be a profound act of suicide for the human race.
Yeah.
I'm so deadly against that because I know about the meaning of work. So if Leo the 14th hasn't read the Morum Exercens, if he doesn't start talking that way, if he just talks about, well, how can we make sure that it doesn't take over and all this stuff, it's much more profound than that.
Yeah.
The fear I have about what's being claimed anyway about AI. I mean, just think about part of the reason why men are in a mess is because we no longer respect work with your hands.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's trying to get out of manual labor, and now we don't have any good plumbers or electricians or men who know how to build houses or fix things. If anybody younger who wants to fix something, if you're lucky, he'll look it up on YouTube, right? There'll be a video. But most of the time we just hire it out because nobody knows how to do it anymore. Not my husband. He knows everything. He can fix anything. And women can do this too. My daughter Maddie knows how to fix a toilet. I mean, it's an amazing gift that we have to make these things that we've invented function for us without replacing them, without getting a new one. And so anyway, talk about destroying men whose task it has been to make things that serve humanity, literally make them. So, the vision that those AI folks, those people that are so inspired by it, the vision that they have is, as far as I'm concerned, a brave new world. It's Huxley. Yeah. Or it's the Hunger Games.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was at a conference recently in Canada on AI, and what struck me was that some qualitative data was given, and they lined up sort of the 7 strongest voices in AI right now, like those really leading the charge, people like Elon Musk and whatnot. And they're split right down the middle on the question of whether AI is going to lead to human flourishing or human decline. I was like, oh my goodness.
I can answer
Half
it
of the
for
experts.
you.
Yeah. Well, human decline.
It can be managed well. It's like any tool.
Yeah.
But this is where original sin shows up, and men's obsession with innovation and inventing new things and pushing the envelope. I mean, you can be sure that it wasn't a woman who invented the artificial womb or is interested in cloning. It's men who are now, God bless them, obsessed with pushing the envelope, developing more and more objects, more things, more tools, more technology.
Yeah.
Ordered toward efficiency, right? We want to be more and more efficient. There's no meaning in that. What is the meaning of all this feverish activity?
Yeah. Where's the end?
What is your end?
Who are you serving?
No, that's right. I mean, it should be obvious by now that the human mind's capacity to invent new things is enormous, but also deadly. I mean, we had to take out Iran's nuclear facilities, right, at great risk in order to ensure that they don't decide to blow up the world or something. I mean, look at all the things we've invented that are now destroying us. So we don't have the moral intelligence to govern ourselves and to ensure that the tools that we're endlessly creating don't become our masters.
Yeah. It was, I think it was Jerome Lejeune, who I'm sure you're familiar with, but he discovered the cause of Down syndrome, and with that became this field of study. And he very quickly said to I think it was World Health Organization, I have seen this institution become an institution of life to an institution of death overnight. Not all progress is actually progress if it's not leading to human flourishing.
Right. Every era, is one of my favorite theologians says, is characterized by both progress and decline. And it's humanity's task to identify those things that constitute progress and and lean into those, but to ensure that those things that bring decline are not pursued.
Yeah.
And we have lost the ability to determine the difference between those two things.
Wow.
It is not
I've never heard that said. That
Yeah.
is, talk about timely.
Yeah. It's not progress that women are now inclined to kill their babies or to annihilate them because they've discovered they may have Down syndrome. That is not progress.
No, it's not.
So what's the criteria? It's got to be meaning, right? Human flourishing.
Dr. Savage, we're going to have to pause here. We could go on and on. It's been such a delightful conversation to have you on. I'm honored that you took the time. Is there a place that you can direct them online, your website, so that they can get more and books and videos and all that?
There's two sources that I would ask you to let everybody know about. One would be the Institute for the Study of Man and Woman at Franciscan University. That's in the initial stages of getting rolling, but we have keep an eye on that, and there's a way to add your name to a mailing list, I think, somewhere. But that's going to be a very important force. It's obviously addressing a central issue for our era. And then I have my own personal website, which people can go to simply by Googling DeborahSavage.com. And there you'll find my CV, my speaking schedule, a bunch of videos, some of my publications, the linkable ones, stuff like that.
That's great. Thank you for both of those. We'll get those in the show notes to make sure everybody has access to them. Dr. Savage, thanks again. Listeners, I trust that you have enjoyed this. It's been edifying for you. I do hope to have Dr. Savage back on. So until next time, God bless you all.